Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 784.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, Ed? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, the Duke of You-Know, the Sultan of Strategery, the Minister of More Gooder, the Professor of the Art Read-Through, and of course he remains the elder statesman of the podcast, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, we're going to start with issue 617 today of Batman, and we are going to wrap up the last part of Hush, including the interlude that was originally published in Wizard Magazine. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
First off, I got to say thank you, DCBS, because I'm seeing something I didn't know was going to be an actual thing. DC Marvel Batman Deadpool team up. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know this was a thing. Plus, there's multiple stories in there, multiple amazing creators. A couple names for you. Guys like Grant Morrison, Scott Snyder, James Tynion IV, Joshua Williamson, Tom Taylor. Just to name a few of the people doing the different stories in there. Looks like we've got a Constantine, Doctor Strange team up. We've got a Nightwing, Laura Kinney team up. So yeah, we've got some pretty neat combinations going on. 38% off, only $4.95, plus multiple variant covers that I'm looking at some of them and I'm like, I want that one and that one and that one. So thank you, DCBS.
There's going to be two of these, by the way. There's another one releasing in November, Batman Deadpool. One's being released by Marvel and one's being released by DC.
Nice.
So, yeah, so if you're intrigued by that, buckle up. There's going to be another one as well. I'm hoping this leads to the possibility of more crossovers like these because of the rich history with them. Over at InStockTrades.com, I am obsessed with DC Finest. And they've got this new one, DC Finest Horror, The Devil's Doorway, trade paperback. This is a collection of stories from the House of Secrets, the House of Mystery, the Phantom Stranger, the Witching Hour, and the Unexpected, some of the classic DC horror. This is a great book to be looking at right now. Halloween's coming up. I'm jonesing for this. This one is $39.99 regularly. It's 560 pages and it's only $17.99. It's kind of a no-brainer if you don't have these stories to pick this one up, if you're intrigued at all by classic DC history. And it is a who's who. Len Wein, Marv Wolfman, Jerry Conway, Bernie Wrightson, Alex Toth, and so on. I mean, there's more. This is just incredible talent that was involved in this one. If you don't have these stories and haven't checked them, the jump-on point is like so worth it. On that note, Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot for the comics we're discussing on today's show. Not Batman #1 yet, Sean. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
But I want to talk about Batman #1. I do. All right, we'll talk about Hush.
A scarlet costume ejects from his ring, and in a blur of motion, police scientist Barry Allen becomes the Flash.
This is a final part of our discussion about Hush. Jeff Loeb is the writer, Jim Lee on pencils, Scott Williams on inks, Alex Sinclair on colors, Richard Starkings on letters, Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair on the covers. And Batman, of course, created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. And Jim, our first part of this is actually the interlude, which was originally published in Wizard and has been put into various collected editions along the way. It was a 6-page, really small little piece back at the cave. And this was your first time reading this part, right?
Yeah. Again, it never was in on the main stuff or anything I've read before, or even the current. Because again, I pulled in the I'm reading it from the app with the the individual issues. So it's I was like, when you started talking about it, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude.
Yeah, they're good pages, actually, because it's actually one of the things that I really enjoy about this is Bruce's various relationships. And we get to see some real time with Catwoman and Alfred in the cave, where she's kind of getting fascinated by what this world of Batman really looks like. Because she's looking at Alfred and basically saying, I bet you have to do this pretty often.
Yeah.
And it's something where this kind of glimpse into his world, you could see her trying to see what would life be like being, I don't know if Mrs. Batman was where she was at, but at least the girlfriend of Batman at the moment, or partner, whatever you want to call her.
Involved. Well, the person who's directly involved with Batman. What would that life be like? And this has given her a good idea. And I think it was funny because I really liked that notion that she would look into that site. Mm-hmm. And again, it's Catwoman's a smart woman, so of course she's going to look into it. But it is kind of neat that they went with that.
This scene was handled a little differently in the animated release too. I like the cave version. Again, this is the other version I like better, just because of Alfred's involvement. I really like seeing Alfred tending to Bruce. Her marveling in both cases, the animated version and this one, her marveling over the scars that he has and just seeing what this life of Batman has done to him. Some of his most brutal, battles with the Joker and with Two-Face and her, the original pieces with her, and recognizing that the costume that she happened to have at the time led to some situations for him. and I really like seeing just this kind of history and reflection between them.
Yeah. And it always does amaze me. Bruce Wayne does have a cover story. It's obvious. It's the billionaire playboy. And in his life, people will see him with his shirt off.
Yeah.
How does he come up with the cover for the scars? How does he cover? Because he had the very famous auto accident. So that's going to give him some covers. He can always throw that in there. But again, I go back to the movie where he's explaining to Lucius, I need this for spelunking. I need this for hang gliding. And he's just coming up with these cheesy excuses. And Lucius is finally like, you don't have to tell me, but don't think I'm an idiot. And I think that's eventually where he would be at with somebody. But also Bruce Wayne doesn't really let too many people in. So he keeps people at a distance, and part of it is an image that he upholds.
Yeah, and I agree with that a great deal. It's part of the image that he upholds. But I think also he's created an image with Bruce Wayne of the fact that he's an adventurer, he's an outdoorsman, he's a billionaire playboy who will fly off and go on a crazy whimsical trip where all of a sudden he's gotten himself into a skiing accident, all those kind of pieces as a cover story, which I think is really good. So I see how that all plays into all of this. And I like that about this particular story and how it plays into what we know about Bruce. He is kind of like Superman in the sense that there's times where it's easy to poke holes in, like, why wouldn't everybody just know he's Batman? I think, though, the persona of Bruce Wayne and how it is viewed by others is pretty critical. And I think he spent a lifetime crafting what Bruce Wayne is to the public and to people he dates and to people he interacts with other than his inner circle.
Yeah. And again, I really do love when Selina starts looking into why does he do it?
Yeah.
And Alfred's like, difficult to say. You immediately go to the flashback of the little boy with his dead parents right there.
Yeah.
Because that is the beginning of it. But he always has a traumatic childhood that always creates this. And I've on multiple times said he's post-traumatic stress disorder. It created the Batman, but it is more than just one moment in time. It is the nature of who Bruce is to carry that pain, to keep it going, to not let it go, not get help and closure on his parents, and to make sure nobody else suffers. That's one of the things, like, there's always the comparison of Batman and Superman. And even in this story earlier, Bruce talked about how Clark would have handled it differently with that little kid when he was saving from crime. But Bruce he may operate in the shadows, but he is a person of the light. He is fighting to save. He is the hero who will take the physical pain on himself to protect an innocent. And that's part of what a lot of those scars represent, the pain that he's taken. And again, the Catwoman and Alfred moment, again, I absolutely love this. Again, is one of those times when I want Alfred back, just because you get moments like this. And you get this character, this insight into who and what is Batman.
One of the things they did really well with that interchange was recognizing we're not going to hear tone, but we need to know there is one. That Selina's picking up on something with Alfred. And Alfred isn't somebody she's just met. She's been at Wayne Manor. She knows Alfred. So she would know that the tone is different in his voice. And Miss Kyle, his trust is not something one can steal from a museum late at night. He's holding a very serious tone at this point. There's something very different about it. And he's basically setting the stage for, this is my boy. And I've sewn him up. I've mended all of his wounds. There's one thing I can't fix, the broken heart piece. And she's sitting here basically taking it personally. And I get it. You don't think that much of me, do you? And he's like, no. It's just the opposite. I think the world of you. And he won't say it, but so does he. And he's basically putting emphasis on the fact that you're here tonight. The fact that he's telling you things that he wouldn't tell anybody else. You're doing good things for him. Please continue to do so. But I like that he's stressing for her, you're something different. This is something different. And that was really, really cool in how it was written and how it was handled and how it took into account you as a reader. You need to hear something that you're not going to hear.
Yeah.
So we're going to help you with it. It was just really, really well done.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, I love that Bruce is already at the computer when this final conversation's happening.
Yes, yeah.
He's already at work. He's already gone to work while Alfred and Selina have this final conversation. But I do wonder if Bruce hears what Alfred's saying. That's the thing I always wondered. Did Bruce hear this whole conversation? Because he is Batman, but he's focused on the fixing up, checking out the computer, seeing what's going on. Or does he know?
He's in tune to the fact that she's there.
Well, she's in tune to the fact she's there, but
I'm saying I think he's going to be a lot more aware of what's going on around. I mean, he's Batman. He's always aware of what's going on around him anyway. But I think that's going to be something, even though he's fighting, perhaps, like the distraction that's there, there's no way he's not paying at least some attention to what's going on.
Probably. He's probably curious to see what Alfred thinks. He's not going to ask Alfred's opinion, but he does want Alfred's approval. Just like he wants the rest of his family's approval, even though he'll never ask them, what do you guys think?
They know that. They know that, and they're handling that in their own ways, which we're going to see in this. I really enjoy how that's all playing out. This interlude is something where back in the day, man, when Wizard was like what it was, this stuff was really cool. The fact you get like 6 pages like this is a bonus, boy. And as a magazine, partnering up with the comic company and saying, hey, we'll put your preview in here. However that interchange and relationship worked, it was good for DC, and it was very good for Wizard as well. This was fun stuff, where you're reading this and you get that look at the quality of the pages. I mean, that to me is essential content.
Oh God. Yeah. And again, I get why it wasn't included in the original, but it was included in the collected edition. And I'm glad they included it in the collected. I'm glad they included extra stuff. Yeah, I always like when you get extra stuff when you buy a collected edition.
Oh, yeah.
Because it makes you feel a little bit better for buying it multiple reasons. I own this multiple ways. Well, this one gives me this little extra bit here. This gives me a little bit extra here. This does a little bit there. And so it is good business, but it's also a great story. I love that part of the story. I'm so glad you brought that up, saying, hey, don't you have that? I'm like, no, I don't. And we seeked it out, and I was able to get my hands on it.
See, I'm looking at the collected edition, and Jim at the time was looking at the DC, the app, DC's app. And it is on DC's app, but it's in the Hush Go version. So if you're listening to this and you're like, where can I find these pages? I don't see them. And you happen to be looking on DC's app, just go to the Go version of Hush, which it all scrolls a little differently. But it was it was later down the line. I think it was like 12 or something.
Issue 23.
Oh, 23. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, issue 23, because each issue is like broken up into multiple chunks. Yeah. In this portable version of it. So let's flip on to the next issue where we're looking at Batman at the Grave. This is another, when you don't know what he's digging up. Yeah. This is another great issue because they've been teasing the fact that something went on with the Lazarus pits. So as far as, and we still it doesn't quite spell out what happened with the Lazarus pits, but it clearly wasn't where this is going. I love this issue. This issue is one of my favorite with what it does because it puts something in play that demanded to be followed up afterwards. Yeah, in a very realistic way. And that part I really liked. I do like seeing them team up together in the cave for this whole Tim Drake bit. And this is an example of Tim Drake written at his best.
Yes.
When you see him as the true partner of Batman and knowing the fact that these two had a conversation and this was something that was planned because at first it doesn't look like that. And I got to admit, I did a double take at first with him up in the shadows in that sequence. I'm like, was Damian in this? And then I recognized, I'm like, oh yeah, it was Tim. And I remember what happened here with the whole thing. But it took me a while to get there for the reread where I was like, oh my gosh, wait, that is Tim. And I loved the use of Tim in this. This relationship, I gotta say, I love Dick Grayson, and I'll always have the fondness from my childhood of Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne being teamed up. But I've gotten so used to him being Nightwing. I've got to say, my favorite Batman and Robin partnership is Tim Drake and Bruce Wayne. It's still to this day. That's not an insult to the Damian character or where that story went, but this felt like such a great Batman and Robin partnership. And when you see it here, it's like, oh goodness. Did you read Batman 1 yet?
Yes, I did.
There's so much to talk about.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Because we're doing that next week. We're going to talk more about it. So I won't go too far.
But both Sean and I loved it.
Yeah. It's everything I didn't know I wanted. And yeah.
We'll stop talking about that. Here, let's get back to Hush. Because one of the things, again,
I want to talk about Batman 1 though.
But
I know. Go ahead. Back to Hush.
Okay. So one of the things this series did, and again, I 100% did not notice this the first time I read this a long time ago, but now I'm seeing it clear as a bell, is the little hint, the hidden shadow image before the person appears. We had that Catwoman one. This one, we've got the Tim up in the upper rafters of the cave, right over Selena's shoulder, right before she's like, hold that thought. Right before she engages on Robin. I loved that this series did that little shadow image, the little blip over here that you got to look carefully in the artwork and you can see it. I like that. That's again, art, the full creative team working hand in hand.
Here's one of the things I'll really agree with you on. I love these street level characters. I'm a big fan of Daredevil too and stuff like that. I think one of the things you got to see is how do they utilize the environment to their advantage? You see Tim Drake doing that. A lot of times there's always the play with the brighter costume of Robin that he's a moving target all the time. Not when you see it like this. I actually always liked Tim Drake's cape too because it had the yellow on the inside and the black on the outside.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch to give him more of a stealth appeal And I always like the more of the ninja look of the boots, and the whole look of everything with Tim. It like honored his training. Yeah. But there was something just really great about this part of the character. You're right on the shadows. It's a detail that's often left out. And when you get to see it and done really well like this, oh man, does it work.
Yeah. And again, like you, I agree completely with the cape. That was something when Tim first hit the scene, and I was just really kind of getting back into comics then. And I read the Solo 1 series, and my buddy Coach over in BG was letting me borrow some books of his and he's the guy who introduced me to Jon Stewart. He's like, I think you'd love this guy. And he 100% was correct. I absolutely love Jon Stewart still to this day. But with Robin, he was another one. He's like, you would like the new Robin. And he got me into the new Robin. And Tim's costume, I always thought that was just wonderful how he had the darkness on the outside. But even his red isn't as bright as Nightwing. He's got full pants on. He's got combat boots on. He's got more battle gloves on. He had more of a Batman duel. And then I always said, until Damian came along, I was like, Tim's the heir apparent. I don't care about Nightwing. I love Nightwing, but no. Tim Drake is going to be the next Robin. I always said that until Damian came on. And once Damian introduced, I was still like, I don't know. Then you get to love the little monster, and you're like, okay, no, Damian's the new Batman. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to Tim, but sorry, Tim, But again, this Batman Robin combination, Tim Drake, Batman, absolutely outstanding, especially the way they were written back here and going forward a little bit while he's still in partnership with those two. I loved how that came out.
The interplay between Catwoman and Tim was so great.
Yeah.
I got to admit, they swerved me here because even having read it before and it'd been a long time, I was like, where did this go? I was trying to remember where it went. In my first read through again this time, and when Bruce pulled him aside, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess this is where Bruce first has the conversation with him. And I like that they keep playing it out all the way through, because as now having read it, I knew that Tim knew all along. Tim's playing a part in all this. He's like, we can't trust her. And Bruce is like, she already knows. And Tim played off the shock and amazement perfectly.
I love this. And again, I completely forgot that they had this, when I was rereading this for the show, I completely forgot that they had the pre-plan ahead. And I'm reading this going, oh my God, that is amazing. And just the way they did the look of shock on Tim, you told her, and just that slightly smaller lettering. So it was almost a whisper. And I love just the look on it. It was absolutely perfect. And I especially love, you should have consulted you? This was my decision. And you made the wrong one. I love this, that Tim's standing up to Bruce, and it's all a charade. It's all an act. But again, 100% pulled into it. This was absolutely brilliant story. I loved this piece of it.
This starts to bring something into play, though, which I think is really, really well done in this story. As a reader, and when you really kind of analyze this one, I want to see these two together so bad. But we see deep down with this kind of, even this tap dance that he just did, he's not ready yet. Because if they were 100% locked in right now as a couple, the way that this went down would have never happened. Because she should be ticked at him for this. and I actually really like that. I feel that way. It feels honest. It feels very true. This is where Bruce feels human. And I like that this is a part of a journey. When you read this, this is essential reading before you read Tom King's run and what he was doing with the two of these kids. Because I think you see he wasn't ready here, but he loves her. And he was clearly getting there. This sets the stage that he could potentially somewhere in the future go where Tom King's run was clearly going.
Yes. And again, this is the beginning of the relationship. This is how crazy a relationship with Batman actually would be. And I love that we're getting the beginnings of this and we're getting the growth of this. And it's, on one hand, I want to smack my buddy, Bruce, for saying, dude, you're being stupid here. But on the other hand, I'm like, no, that's Batman. And she needs to understand this is the kind of stuff that he's going to do. If she can't handle this type of stuff, then there's going to be a problem in Paradise, because this isn't Clark and Lois, where, and then I can't remember which show it was, but one of the TV shows had Clark faking he was in the middle of a fight with Lois, and he faked hearing a distress call out. He did that. He stops and he kind of turns his head a little bit. I gotta go, and flies off. And really, there was no emergency, but Clark was in the middle of fighting with Lois and he didn't want to fight it. That's the kind of stuff that it has a rarity on Superman's side, but that's the kind of stuff you're going to get with Bruce. You're going to get I need to double check and recheck everything. It's not just going to be shoot from the hip guy. And I think that is a really neat idea on her getting her first taste of it with this story.
I agree. I think that's something that's really neat. I really liked the use of Huntress in this. Huntress was becoming more prevalent in the Batman universe. When she came in, there was a great... Did you read the Nightwing and Huntress crossover?
Yeah.
And the Batman and Huntress miniseries? Those were really, really well done. And, she's a character who I just think is very, very interesting to read. And I really like the interplay between her and Catwoman in this. And really... how it leads to the battle that we were expecting between the two. There's times where battles are really fun, and I really enjoyed what was going on here because of the fact that there was a reason for it. I liked that there was a manipulation element to what is going on here, and to what in particular, what was going on with Helena, which is really great. I really liked seeing this, and I like that Catwoman she's not being visually seen. We actually saw what was going on in her eyes. We got to see her in her whole outfit, and she knew she was being messed with on some level. And it was just really cool to see the battle from her perspective.
Oh God, yeah. This again was a really neat moment because I'll be honest with you, it was kind of threw me at first when you see the fight. You're like, wait, what's going on here? Because this was another sequence I forgot about. There's a couple of stuff here that I forgot about, and I completely forgot Huntress's manipulation in the whole Hush saga. It wasn't just Bat's villains. It was some of his associates who got played by Hush. Again, showing the level of strategery that Tommy had throughout this was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
He is an absolutely wonderful villain, and I loved just how this came about. But again, I loved seeing these two go at it. Then I love Bruce recognizing, okay, I got to step in here now. There's something else going on. And Bruce recognizes something going on. But the other part I loved the best, though, was when Bruce is like, stay here, keep an eye out. For who? Me, pretender. Bam! The sucker punch on taking out Tim. Again, Bruce is planning for Hush, but Hush is still planning for Bruce. Hush knows how Bruce thinks. Hush knows that he's going to be following Catwoman. Hush knows he's going to have Robin stay up top to keep an eye out for him. So he's playing again. He's one step ahead of Bruce, and that is what makes it probably the greatest of Batman's villains, is because he's one step ahead.
Well, and the funny part is this is all engineered by Hush. If Hush is there, we're not seeing him because that's not Hush.
Right.
Which is the head shrinker on this. I was like, what?
I know.
I really loved the layers of this piece. It added, the mystery is really, really what was key on this miniseries. Scarecrow comes in, which gives you the whole reason what was going on with Helena. And this sets up the chess game of the person underneath the outfit who ended up taking him away. I do like that we're made to think it is Hush. And that's been multiple times now where we've seen Two-Face looking onto everything and thinking it was Hush. So it really just makes the mystery of who actually really is Hush a layer of this piece. They keep throwing different swerves at us. This is brilliantly orchestrated.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, I keep going back to, if I was reading this for the first time when it came out per monthly, they would keep swerving me. I know if I was reading it for the first time, I would have suspected immediately Tommy. just because he's a new character introduced. Some of his just appearances, like, this guy could be it. And I think maybe this is him. And then they kill him off. Like, oh, it can't be him. And then you get the Two-Face scene. Oh, it could be Two-Face. No. Then you get this episode where you get introduced to a whole other person. You're like, oh my God, this is who Hush is. It's gotta be who Hush is. Oh my God. So I love the roller coaster ride they're putting us on going through this. This is, again, the emotional ride we're currently going on with highs and lows through this story. It's why this is such a great, classic, unbelievable story arc with
the questioning of Crane, where he's like, I don't want to talk to Scarecrow right now. I want to talk to Jonathan Crane. You did profile work, and he's rattling off everybody. So he's looking for the clues. He's like, I want to know why. And the interesting part is, this is where Hush was brilliant in who he brought in and how busy he's keeping Batman. Because I like Crane's like marveling at the fact that my fear gas didn't work on you. That shouldn't be the case unless you're already infected by another. We don't get time to know what that means, though, because he's already been knocked out by what looks like Hush.
Yeah.
And as I remember this, man, as those bandages start going away and you start to see the mask underneath, who never in a million years would have thought that what we were seeing there was Jason Todd. And this is mind blowing, because the question becomes, is he Hush? Was he the one doing this all along? And I love that for just a moment there, I was like, damn, that is cool.
Yeah. Well, and this is an absolute brilliant way to end it. Because not only, again, as I said, if I was reading this for the first time, I 100% would think that.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of this issue, I would have been 100%. It's got to be Jason Todd. Oh my God. Because even the site that they choose, this is the hidden grave of Jason Todd. Because Bruce moved the grave so no one would find it. No one could use it to find who Jason was, to lead to Bruce or all that stuff. This is the secret grave, the unmarked grave of Jason Todd. So, of course, Jason Todd would know it, but of course also Hush would know it, because Hush has done everything he can to figure out who is the Bat, who is Bruce. He knows who the secrets that Bruce has been hiding.
What's so interesting is that Hush in this did not seem to be telling other people who Batman is. And I think that information currency, he was keeping the power and control of what he wanted to do to Batman, what he wanted to do to Bruce Wayne. He did not want them getting in the way of that. It was a very interesting interplay of what was going on here. Control was a very big thing for Hush. You keep mentioning strategy or strategery, the evil part of it. And I really liked that part of it.
Yeah. And the update to Jason Todd look.
Oh, yeah.
And Jason Todd cost. I absolutely love this, especially all the extra magazines, because he's so heavy on, he doesn't have the standard Bat utility belt. His are more for magazines for guns, and his are a breakdown on who he is, and adding even the gray streak in hair to try to make him look a little bit older, a little bit different. I was like, damn, that is a really one. This again is another really cool look where he's got the sharpened batarang up against the throat of Tim, saying, life's a game, just a game, Batman, and this time you lose. And I love just how this ended.
The next cover was sweet. Especially anybody who read Death in the Family, especially as it was coming out, and just how long they really stuck with Jason Todd being dead. This is super cool, because now they're really swerving us, because like, oh my gosh, they brought back Jason Todd. And this was a great way to leave you sitting for a month. Then you come back to this, and we're seeing, the original image of him being dead, and Bruce really being emotionally played by this. You can see why Bruce would start to get emotionally exhausted by everything that was going on. I like that Catwoman is a part of the team. This is her guy. The two of them are together. They are partners in this, and she stayed on the scene. And when Bruce is in trouble with Jason, she's the one providing the distraction. She is taking control while and helping really get Tim away from harm. It was really, I loved everything about how that whole situation played out.
And again, I loved her, kind of playing off why she's helping Tim. Like, anything happened to you, he'd be hell to live with. In reality, she's doing it because she's a good person. And that's the thing. Selena's always going to have that cover of she really is a good person in her heart. Yeah, she's a thief. Yeah, but she's not a killer. She has been known to kill, and she would kill, but she's not a homicidal murderer like the Batman's other rogues. She's got a code. If she needs to protect herself or to protect an innocent person, she'll take a life. Now that she's in with the Bat family, she's going to stop that. She has stopped the killing, but she is in her heart a good person. And I like seeing moments where you get these people who are trying to keep the image up, the facade up, that she's really, I'm not really helping you. I'm doing it for myself. No, you're not. You're doing it because you're a good person.
What's interesting about this sequence, so let's just go there. This is Clayface. But we as the reader, I didn't know this as the reader when I was originally reading it. We're seeing him play a role. And the reason why I'm referencing that and why I think it's important to talk about right now, one of the good things this story does is there was a clue in there for Bruce. I didn't see it as the reader. And when he comes back later and explains it, I get it. I'm like, oh, that's how Bruce knew. But I liked that it wasn't like it didn't hit you over the head with it, because you want to believe in these stories that Batman's a little bit smarter than everybody else. He's the world's greatest detective. So he is going to catch things with an attention span, even when things are emotional, that nobody else does. I loved how that played out. Because Jason's saying a lot in this whole entire fight. And that's, I think, where Clayface made his biggest mistake. He was too chatty.
Yeah. Jason wasn't a talker. He was a fighter.
Yeah.
And again, I like this layout of the fight sequence going on where they're just going back and forth. He was keeping up with Bruce. Now, how much of that was Bruce and a rope-a-dope? Because Bruce will do that. He will take some punches to study someone's fighting and figure them out. Sometimes you got to take a punch to really learn how to defeat your enemy. So letting Jason or Clayface land some punches. Clayson, yeah. Now, in one of the Jason Todd stories, I can't remember which one, he did talk about that. He was part of some of the fighting was actually him. He did actually come back at this point in time. I thought they retconned it so that part of this is him, part of it is Clayface.
I'd have to go back and I'd have to reread.
Yeah, it's the Jason Todd stories. I don't know if it's in the Red Hood story or if it's in one of his later versions or something like that. I could have swore they retconned it that this wasn't all. It was Jason did some of the fighting, then he backed off and said, I don't need this, and Clayface jumped. I thought, but I'm not 100% on that. So if anybody's like, Jim, you're wrong, please let us know.
I don't remember. Excuse me. I don't remember that, but it's interesting when you take a look at that, because I guess here's the piece where I'm looking for opportunity to swap when you've got Catwoman and Tim Drake on the scene.
Yeah.
I can see it now when Bruce is chasing him, like maybe at this point in time is where that could have happened. I'd like to, I don't remember that. But then again, when we were talking about Under the Red Hood and that particular storyline, it could have been in that.
Maybe.
Because certainly they had to explain Jason being back. Was there a relationship with Hush and what that looked like? I don't know. This Tim Drake stopping Selena here when Bruce is chasing after him was really, really interesting, because he's reaching out to her and trying to plead with her to do what Bruce needs right here. And it's something where she's like, he has to work through some therapy here with this. Yeah. There's reasons why Bruce needs to be able to handle this himself. Yeah. And Selena's asking the $1 million question. I'm sorry. Ask yourself, Boy Wonder, what's he going to do if he finds out that it's not Jason Todd come back to haunt him? She's seeing the other layer of this. It's like, you think he's angry now. What's going to happen if he knows he's been screwed with like this?
Right.
And I love that question. I think it's just a really, really good question from her.
if both parties are right on what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Tim's thinking, hey, Bruce needs, this is good therapy for him to work through it. And I love Selena, though, she's looking at it. See, for me, I would follow, but keep a distance. I wouldn't interfere initially. It'd be one of those things where watch from a perch, make sure he's okay. Because on Tim's side, for what Tim says, yes. For what she's saying, yes. But you gotta just, but again, it's gotta play out. You gotta see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. And that is one of the things. I did love seeing, and I'm with you on the look, the costume, everything. It was really cool at the time. It was really cool here. And seeing the combat and the battle between both of them, Bruce seeing the clues. He is playing this all the way through. It was a batarang. I cannot always collect them at a scene of the crime. It was by design that I landed in Crime Alley, where we first met, where Jason was stealing. The left tire in front of the Batmobile, the same one that blew out chasing Killer Croc. I love that he's putting all the clues together. He's doing what he's supposed to do, what he's been set up to do. And I love that the part when Bruce says, but, I love that was at the end of a page.
Yeah.
Because when you flip it through and Bruce is screaming at him, you are not the Robin who died. I was like, oh, tell me what happened here. Here's the thing. I was geeking out and sad at the same time because I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And that was what this story did well, is I wanted that to really be Jason Todd. I get that it wasn't, and I loved how they handled it in this story, but man, was that having it be Clayface was very, very cool. I loved Bruce's discovery. As a fan, though, I admit, jumping out of the gate, I wanted that to be Jason.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And again, I loved the one of the biggest pieces why Bruce knew this wasn't Jason. He wouldn't be calling him Batman. He would be calling him Bruce.
Right.
Oh, and I love the fact that Bruce doesn't say that out loud, but that's the thought balloon on what's going on, why he's doing it. And again, just as he's pounding on Clayface, I love the fact that, again, Clayface is one of those villains that sometimes the way he's written, you feel bad for him. Because he was this actor who, because of a horrible accident, can no longer do what he loves.
Yeah.
So he resorted to crime, and it kind of drove him a little mad. Being this clay creature that couldn't be himself anymore kind of drove him mad. So he's one of those villains that I always feel bad for. And I love the fact that the villains that I usually feel bad for are the ones that Hush is especially manipulate. I always feel bad for Croc. 100% feel bad for Croc. You feel bad for Harvey Dent for what happened to him. You feel bad for Clayface for what happened to him. So it's kind of neat that that's the villains that Hush is manipulating, because those are also the villains that Bruce feels bad for. That Bruce has a bit of, maybe I can help this person. Maybe I can do the one thing they need to get back their humanity. And I love that that's also part of Hush's game plan.
The clue of the clay in the ground and the interplay between him and Jason. I love when he dissects a scene of the crime with Jason.
Yeah.
I mean, not Jason. I'm sorry, Tim. I keep saying I've got Jason on the brain. I'm sorry. With Tim. When he and Tim are analyzing the scene of the crime, and Tim is asking all the right questions and talking it through, because he's like, when did you discover it? And working through all the scene, because he wants to know all the clues. I love that Bruce is assigning a big part of this, the costume. He's like, listen, that costume, see if there's anything on it, any clues, anything that will lead us to who was pulling the strings with Clayface to make this happen. And I just really liked where that went.
Yeah. And again, giving Tim the job to do that as well.
Yes.
That is actually, again, Tim is the detective as well. That's why I always said he was the heir apparent, because he is a great detective on his own right. So that for me was, again, a really neat moment, but also, again, Catwoman doing what Catwoman needs to do. Remember in the beginning, Alfred's like, you're doing what you need to do right now. When you ask for, how can I help? You're doing it right now. Keep doing it. And we see her keep doing this. I love the fact that she initially starts to call him out on the fact that he followed, you don't trust me. And I just love that they had that pause. And he's like, I trust you. And it's like, I love the fact that she has that moment. They have that one little moment of, that pause, and then you have that admission from Bruce. Again, Bruce Wayne admitting his emotions, it's all new to him.
Yes.
So it's kind of neat to see him actually express himself in a positive manner.
One of the things that's also interesting on that piece is she says, hey, for what it's worth, I'm glad it wasn't Jason. And Bruce comes back immediately with, I'm not. And that is the detective. Because he's basically saying, listen, I'm not, because this case would have been over if we knew who the real person behind it was. That means that person's still out there, or persons. Yep. And I like that he doesn't know, is this one or more, because of what's going on. The clock tower sequence with Barbara Gordon was great. Yeah. And everything that went on with Huntress. The interesting piece over there was she asked a question that really has not been asked since the beginning. Hey, when your bat line was cut, you're barely conscious. So much so that you had to use Morse code. What made you think of Tommy Elliott? And I like that she's sitting here saying, I'm just curious. And Bruce is explaining the whole thing through. And she's basically saying, you asked me to look into that electronic relay you found hidden underneath your computer in the cave. And I like that she's sitting here and basically playing out that, hey, there's something more here to Tommy, perhaps.
Yep.
I loved every bit of that piece. Barbara Gordon being the detective, Oracle as a concept and how she worked in the Batman world during this time was stellar. This is why we got her involved with the Justice League. This is why Birds of Prey was sweet. Anytime that Oracle appeared in a lot of books, sometimes just as a small cameo where she was providing the information, but she became this central hub. I really liked this era for Oracle as well.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And again, Barbara Gordon is just crucial in who she is and what she does. I'm glad that she's not in the chair anymore, and I'm glad she's able to do her thing, but this is all, for me, is always the best usage of Barbara Gordon. Or behind the chair, Oracle doing what she does. Because again, she looks at it, she's got that unique perspective on it. She's not a bat. She's part cop, she's part librarian, she's part her. She's Batgirl, but she's not just Batgirl. There's so much more to her that I love how she took her accident. Not accident. She took what the Joker did to her. The tragedy that what Joker did to her. And she's like, I'm not going to let this define me and say I am nothing anymore. I'm still Batgirl. I'm still a crime fighter. I'm still going to take down the bad guy if I have to do it from this chair behind this computer. And I love that concept of who Oracle is. And seeing this sequence was, again, absolutely brilliant, because I love the look of Bat's face, the shock, anger, and horror when she shows him, look at this. And we don't see what she showed him. All we see is his reaction to it.
I love that this led him to Harold. And this was like at the time I was like, this is a pretty deep cut going to Harold. And just because of the fact that Harold appeared in the comics, but it wasn't always a constant. I do love the sign when he's looking on to Harold, and you see the reference to Carmine Infantino and David Mazzucchelli, and just a history of the Batman world and stuff like that. But Harold was an interesting one, and Harold thought like this was going to be a chance for him to become more independent, not to be so reliant on Batman, kind of doing his own thing. And it was very, very interesting for Harold to try and kind of say to himself, or say to Batman, I was not trying to really hurt you. And the circuit relay, I did not follow specifications on what I was supposed to do here. It was sort of a redemption of sort for Harold, but what a way for Harold to go out.
Oh, yeah, that is horrible. And again, I love the fact that Bruce starts off angry. What 30 pieces of silver were you promised? And then he sees him. And then he hears him, and like, you can speak. And it was just that whole Harold was giving up. And I love the line where he was like, I thought that even if I'd been tricked, you are my hero. You would always win. forgive me. I love the fact that Harold's like, hey, even if this was the bad guy, I knew you could beat him, and it's kind of the innocence of a child that kind of Harold has, but he's got that brilliant technical side to him. This for me was just, and also the fact that he knew who Bruce was without the mask, even without Harold's interference. So Harold didn't break the secret. Harold honored the secret. The guy already knew. He already knew who he was, but he made sure the relay wouldn't hurt him. And I like that. All it did was put that subconscious thought into him about Tommy Elliott. But I love how this, again, I hate the fact that they kill off Harold, but it's actually fits so perfectly because he's like, who approached you? It was bam, bam, double tap, heart and head.
The whole interplay in the fight with Hush, I think, was just really, really well done. I love the choreography of it. We needed to see at this point. This was 12 chapters of this, plus the interlude, which is all coming to a head. I love that it's still a mystery. Even at this point, you're looking at the clues and thinking it might be Tommy. Are you thinking it might be Harvey? What kind of things are in play here? We're seeing multiple different scenarios. And one scenario I did not think in this. I did not think it was Jason. The Clayface thing, I'm like, oh, that was just Hush screwing with me. So I knew that was going to be the case. I love that the cover alludes to Riddler being a chess master, because even the cover acts as like a bit of a swerve. Is the Riddler involved? What's going on here? That was very, very well done, because this has been a great unfolding mystery to this point. So I think the execution is really critical, and they've done a really good job with execution. Tommy's necklace being there from the get-go was something that's really a joy when you go to reread. And you remember the fact that he punched Bruce down and did all those pieces. Then you take a look at that, and it wasn't something I noticed, I know, in my first read-through, that the necklace was there until Bruce points it out. But they have it right front and center, right in the very early pages. And I like that. I really like that attention to detail.
And again, that's something I did 100% missed on multiple reads, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And like the very first time I read this thing, I already knew who Hush was. Now I went into this knowing who Hush was. So, and to miss that, and even when we were getting ready for this show, I missed the necklace on this final page. It wasn't until I did my art read through that I actually saw it. Because again, I was looking for the little hidden stuff. And it was funny on this scene. I'll be honest with you. I was looking at the background, all the buildings behind him going, okay, is there somebody hidden there? I got so used to having the hidden figures. I was looking for it everywhere.
I like the reference to the trench coat being generic. Presumably he did this on purpose. I've seen other Killer Croc, Jim Gordon, Jason, even Harold, that this is something where it's appearing regularly. And because he's looking for defining qualities, what is going to help me identify who this person is? And he said even Bruce Wayne's owns several of them.
Yeah.
I do like when he talks about himself in the third person.
Yeah. Well, and it always asks the question, who is the real person? Is Bruce Wayne the real person, or is Batman the real person? Is Bruce Wayne the mask? And there's been so many debates on it that I don't have a solid answer, but I do love when Bruce has moments like this, when he shows us that Bruce Wayne's a mask and stuff like this. Bruce Wayne is a mask. And with a great Batman, Batman Beyond, where Bruce Wayne was being made, the old Bruce Wayne they're trying to make him think he was crazy by hearing voices, and the voices kept calling him Bruce. And he's like, I don't call myself Bruce, And I was like, Batman is the real person here. I love the fact that sometimes Bruce doesn't realize that Batman's not the real person. Bruce Wayne is the real person.
What's really interesting in this battle and tete-a-tete between them, I kept looking for the reveal. I don't know, in my mind's eye, I thought there was like a definitive reveal where like the bandages were cut and we got to see Tommy.
Yeah.
I like the way that this whole fight's playing out, where it's dialogue that eventually gets Bruce there. It's conversation that eventually gets Bruce there, because Tommy at the point where he wanted him to know that's me. And the reveal was very, very interesting in the way, because I'm like, I knew it was definitively Tommy. How did I know that?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it's more through dialogue than anything else. And I love how that played out. I love good guy Harvey.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. I love the fact that Tommy healed Harvey.
Yeah.
Bringing back Harvey Dent. He healed Two-Face. Well, guess what happens? When you heal Two-Face, Harvey Dent comes back. The good guy. Now, we do know that eventually Two-Face comes back. Two-Face is buried in the back of Harvey's psychosis. So he will make an appearance. He will make a return. But I do love the fact that Harvey double crosses Two-Face. I mean, Harvey double crosses Hush and helps out the Bat. That was absolutely brilliant usage of that.
The interplay with Harvey and Jim, and I love how Bruce's reaction to this whole thing. You know, he's like, Harvey with his face healed is unexpected, but he's like, have I lost Tommy only to regain my friendship in Harvey? I liked seeing that because Bruce clearly felt the loss when Harvey became Two-Face. I really like how they've played into that friendship between the two of them over the years and what that friendship, and fleshed out that friendship even more. The way that Hush is ended in all of this is really interesting because it's almost a Joker kind of escape where the body could be dragged away, can't be found, but we don't have the body.
Yeah.
And I really like when stories end like that. And it's one of the things I'll say, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Hush has had some great appearances after this. Hush has had some lackluster appearance after this. He ran into a similar problem that Bane did. The initial story was outstanding. And then some writers did a great job with it. Others not as good. And this story, it just benefits from the fact that the mystery is the key here. And once you start solving that mystery, it starts to fall apart a little bit. And it starts to come to a conclusion, what you can do with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, again, I went into this story knowing that Tommy Elliott was Hush.
Yeah.
I knew that. And I still enjoyed the read. And then this second time when we did it, I knew the story, but I forgot a lot of stuff. So when I went back through and I was pulled back in again to it. When you have a well-crafted story, beginning, middle, end, you can take the obvious answer and go through it. But again, as you said, the mystery is the best part about this Hush story. So when you bring him back, you have to have a mystery unfold. What is Tommy after? What is Hush after? Or how is Hush going to do it? He can't do it the same way he did last time because he lost. So he's got to come up with something different. Now, and I think that is the strength of what Hush is. Now, one of the things, again, I loved with how Clayface was the body in Tommy's grave. That's how Tommy got killed in issues ago. But to be honest, I didn't remember that it was Clayface in the grave. I thought they used the Lazarus pit on Tommy.
Right.
And that's how Tommy came back and not on Jason. Because Jason was Clayface. I'm like, oh, okay. But I love the fact that, no, that wasn't it. So there is a mystery out there still of what happened with the Lazarus pit. Was that just done to throw Bruce off the trail and think that Jason Todd came back? Does Hush have the Lazarus stuff, or did he actually use it? I love the fact that even though we have an ending to the story, there's still mystery unfolding. The damage that Tommy did to Bruce has rippling effects going down the pipeline.
I think they did answer what happened to the Lazarus pit in the future. And that's, I thought it's what I'm thinking it is, isn't it? Okay. It really is one of the two people in question.
Yeah.
It was used for that purpose. So I'm dancing around and being a little vague at the moment just because of the fact that I don't necessarily want to spoil it for anybody listening. It's been years since I've read the follow-up stories to all of this, though. That went on. They actually, the thing that I like about this story so much is not only did it create a great unfolding mystery, but it put to your point, a lot of questions in play that did not resolve in this. And I think any good monthly drama does that, where it's like, this story's going to live on because of the fact that it's left so much there that you want to know more about. They left a great opportunity for writers that I thought was really, really awesome. And some of them were handled brilliantly. Others were good, but they could have been handled better. I feel Hush is one of those. When I think of Hush storytelling, there have been some great follows. Like I liked Heart of Hush and stuff like that. And as I go back and think through Hush storylines, but there are other appearances of Hush I didn't like so much. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this character now. We're going to eventually talk about Hush 2.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of Hush, but this storyline just is an example of how you build a new villain.
Yes.
And when you add something to the mythos like that, it's really, really cool. The Harvey Dent piece wound up being a great story arc.
God, yeah. Again, the Catwoman Bruce relationship that started out all this stuff is still being felt to this day.
This was before 1 year later. I keep forgetting that. I'm trying to think of time placement. Like what? So was it Face to Face? Was that the story with Harvey?
Yeah.
Am I thinking of that one correctly?
I think so.
That was a really good story. Cause was that the first 1 year later? I think it might've been the first 1 year later story. That was a really, really good one that spun out, and really it in many ways spun right out of this one.
Yeah. Now, a couple of points I want to make. I love the fact that Huntress and Catwoman, again, have that little kind of comic connection.
Mm-hmm.
Scarecrow did a number on Huntress's head. Ivy did a number on Catwoman's head. And you get that connection between these two, that you kind of see, okay, there's going to be a connection between these two. They kind of understand each other. They're both on the edge. They're both on the fringe of good guy. So yeah, I could see them going together. And it was a neat little just tease for future team ups, future partnerships, future friendships. And same thing with, I loved Bruce and Clark in the cave. Just that final, again, giving the reader all the final pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah.
How Tommy's image was getting flashed in there so it's a subliminal messaging to him. That's how Bruce thought about it. And how did Tommy know exactly where Bruce was? Well, when he was operating on him, he put a tracker in his brain. And I love the fact that Clark's like, Bruce is like, burn it. And Clark's like, it's going to hurt. Do it. And that had to hurt like hell. Even though Clark's quick with the heat blast, that still burned and stung like all heck. I love the fact that even after he gets a little impromptu brain surgery, he's like, okay, time to go to work. It's, again, great moment between these two old, longtime friends.
The interesting part of this was the whole storyline with Superman afterwards that I thought was just really, really great. Clark comes in and becomes that friend that you need him to be, where he's helping Bruce talk it all through. And I love his eyeglass analogy. He's looking at Bruce and he's like, hey, sometimes the eyeglasses are in the last place you would think of looking for them. And he's just like talking through with Clark Kent, especially with the fact that he's Superman. He wears the glasses. I like the analogy. But Bruce now is reflecting on the fact that, look how much I missed. He used his surgical skills to help Harold. I didn't catch any of that. Harvey Dent, look what he did for him. How could I have not known all this was going on around me? And, he approached Huntress, offered her all this money to get herself up and running as a concerned citizen. Oh, he got to me? Watch this. Subliminal messages. He was using subliminal messages all the time. So when I was using the Bat computer, this was running in my brain. Everything was a big setup. And I love that Clark's recognizing how big this is. He's like, what can I do to help? And this relationship, it goes back to what Lois was saying before to Clark. Remember, this guy's your friend.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think this is something that clearly impacted Clark. The conversation the two of them had post that clearly helped. I like seeing the growing friendship when Bruce and Clark kind of have these moments together. You don't get to see this very often. There's a different level of respect. It's something different than what you would see with Alfred. Yeah. And I love every bit of how this plays out. This is just really, really well written.
I especially love the ending bit. Bruce is like, I got time to go to work. And Clark's immediately like, hey, you need me to stick around. Because that's what the friend's going to do. But again, you have another moment where Bruce is showing emotion. No, you've done enough, but Clark, I thank you. It's, again, Bruce does not do emotions well. Here he is practically gushing by just saying that simple thank you. Again, he's making steps going forward to being a normal person. And I love seeing that.
I love this epilogue with Arkham Asylum.
Oh my God, yes.
I didn't see this coming. I'm like, just when you think the story's given you everything it possibly can, it gave you a whole big Riddler twist with all of this.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And again, you throw into the fact that Tommy worked with all the other villains, gave them upgrades. The Riddler never got an upgrade. Reason was the Riddler was his partner. I love just that fight. Because again, another thing I forgot on how much the Riddler was involved in this. This wasn't just Tommy. Yeah, Tommy was the master of strategery, but he had the Riddler on his side as well. And I was like, oh, I completely forgot about this. This is awesome. Oh my God.
And I love that the Lazarus Pit was a key catalyst to all of this.
Yeah.
Riddler was dying. The Lazarus Pit helped him to live again. And it also, like anything else, kind of gave him some clarity of some things that he never knew before. And I really love seeing where this went. And the Riddler, naming him and knowing who he is, this was a great twist in the whole dynamic of the Bat universe. Because the Riddler would be, we've always assumed like the Joker might know because of his unique brand of crazy, but the Riddler knowing is another kind of dangerous.
Yes. And I loved how Bruce handled it.
Yeah.
Once again, and it makes perfect sense on how he did it. Throws out this most simplest, basic riddle that everybody knows. What time is it when an elephant sits on a fence? Time to get a new fence. Everyone knows it. It's worthless. That's right. It is worthless. Knowing the riddle makes it completely worthless. So if everybody knows who is the Batman, it's now a worthless riddle. And I love the fact that right there, and even just the Riddler's like, damn, they got me.
But wait, but he doubled down.
Yeah.
Then he basically said, listen, you went and used the Lazarus Pit. What do you think Ra's al Ghul will do when he finds that out?
Yeah.
And you got the entire League of Assassins looking for you. I loved that he played down this entire piece. You realize Batman's had to play this out many times before. What would I do to protect the identity?
Yes.
And
he has a plan for everybody.
Yeah.
When they find out. And this was always the Riddler's play. The making it not worth telling. Because it's the great riddle that you've solved. Now, if you just give it away, it means nothing. So that was always the plan. Add to it now, he's got the League of Assassins after. And each one, he's got his own little bit. And I do love the fact that the Riddler did figure it out. Because he needed to. That's something that if the Riddler didn't figure out who the Batman was, you would seriously question his deductive abilities. And that's something about the Riddler. He's, again, another one of those Bat villains that if he just could get past his little craziness, he could be a really productive member of society.
The interesting part with Bruce is the lack of trust. And this put a major damage on his trust. Because now he's questioning Catwoman.
Yeah.
Is it legit? Or is this something Ivy did? Is this put together by Hush? And I love that she's in a very different place from maturity. And we saw it earlier in the story, and I like that this wasn't the first glimpse that we saw of Bruce not being in the right place to move forward with this relationship. And when this comes crashing down, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, you poor fool. What have you done?
Yeah, I know.
You were so on the edge of something wonderful, and you just let it go. And the idea of, maybe someday you'll come to trust that. Until then, and I love that someday is how this ends with Bruce standing there alone. And everything about this story is so cool because there's a lot of dense moments that I forgot about. The Riddler stuff and how that played out, I completely forgot.
Yeah.
And always thought there was a physical reveal of Hush. And kept forgetting that, no, that's not what happened.
No.
And sometimes your mind...
His face was always wrapped.
Yes.
I'm the same boat as you. I thought I could have swore on that bridge.
Yeah.
When they were fighting, that final fight sequence is when it comes off and he actually sees his face.
And I admire the choice to not do it. Because I think actually it's a better story because they didn't. Everything they did in this execution-wise was perfect. I do think the characters had the Bane problem. I think after this storyline, the way Hush was handled was really good in some cases, not so good in others. And when I say not so good, this is a character that you don't want to have an okay story with. Where you're just like, oh, that story was good. But, at the end of the day, if you're justifying that, that means usually a good story is good because there were some great moments and there were some problems. Yeah. and overall, when you put some of those parts together, you wind up with a good story. It's like, that was all right. That was entertaining. This is outstanding and a great way to introduce a villain. It's been very hard, I think, to get really, truly outstanding Hush storytelling after this with the character. And certain writers have managed to skirt the line again. I can't wait to talk about Hush 2 eventually. We're going to be
me too.
Over the next, few months, we're going to touch on Hush 2. That's why we really wanted to do this one first, because in looking at Hush 2, I was like, we never did this one.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this. I hope you as listeners, this gave you a chance to revisit this story and actually get to see the beats, because this story is worth giving it time again if you haven't read it since its original release, because it's really, really strong.
And it's funny, I'm going to start reading Batman 620 and continue on the stuff after this and just do a reread on Batman after.
Did you read the Batman after this? Like, where?
Yes. Okay. Again, it's I read some of the stories after this, but I know I wasn't collecting when this came out.
Right.
So I read Under the Hood first. And that's how I learned about who Hush was. And with the whole Jason and all that stuff.
Oh, so you went back.
So I went back to this and I reread. I read the Hush story, and I maybe continued on 620. I know I've read a lot of backstories on Batman, but I'll be honest with you, I don't 100% remember. Because I didn't start reading Batman until 1 year later, regularly reading Batman until 1 year later, because that's when we started doing the show.
Yeah.
And I did some going back and I picked up, I got to read this story. Oh, you got to read this story. And somebody, you or people, some of the different podcasters talking about, this is a great Batman story. Okay, let me find it. And it's funny because I know I've got the paper versions of Hush. I'm pretty sure, because I started doing, when we were regularly going to cons, I was getting back issues to try to fill out the thing. And I also have Absolute Hush somewhere. I couldn't find it yet. I mean, things have been a little bit crazy in my life. I haven't been able to find it, but right now I'm planning on continuing on at 620 and just continue on to read, Batman.
Yeah. This has been a real joy. I'm really glad we went and did this one. I knew we were going to dig talking about it. I didn't realize how much I'd forgotten. And I'm glad we picked this story up.
Oh, no, you don't!
RagingBullets.com is our website. That's where you can find out more information about show releases. It feeds into X/Twitter. It also feeds into our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and I just want to thank everyone who posts there. I start off every day by checking to see what articles are up there, what people are talking about and interested in. I really appreciate that kind of collaboration that we've got, because they're really a part of the podcast. Everyone who's over there doing that and just giving something as a bonus to listening to this podcast. So thank you to the team over there and everything that you do to make this fun and entertaining. The About Us section of the show website, where you can find out how to connect with Jim and myself on gaming platforms and personal social media sites. I'm a regular co-host on Is It Jaws with Paul Spataro, where we review movies, and it's bi-weekly. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I really encourage you to, because we're having a blast over there. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Seglin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have one of the greatest team-ups that I didn't know was coming, but I'm happy it's happening. DC Marvel, Batman, Deadpool, #1 one-shot, 38% off. $4.95, but it's not just stories about Batman and Deadpool. We've got some stories in there. Nightwing. We've got Nightwing and Laura Kinney. Wolverine. We've got Constantine, Doctor Strange. So it's multiple stories from a who's who of creators. So thank you, DC.
Over at InStockTrades.com with Halloween coming up, I want to remind everyone once again about DC Finest, Horror, The Devil's Doorway. This trade paperback is 560 pages, $39.99 regularly, 55% off, only $17.99. Thank you, DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, we're coming back and we're going to do 2 weeks of just kind of a casual look at some of the books that have been released by DC, single issues, before we jump into our next story arc. Week 1, we're going to be talking about Batman 1, Immortal Legend Batman #1, and Justice League Dark Tomorrow Special. We will see you next week.
Bye!
When Sean and Jim decided long ago to do a weekly comic book podcast show, they started slowly, then grew strong. To listen now, you can't go wrong. The Raging Bullets Comics Podcast Show.